but I hope that we can deliver a great presentation tonight, even though we started off a little rough. So welcome to our Oak Avenue Kindergarten New Family Information Night. We are excited, so excited to share with you our program. Go ahead and turn the slide. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about our educational approach. You're going to get to know Oak Avenue and the students, the parents that are here tonight, and we are here to answer your questions at the end. If you go back one, there you go. So Portrait of a Learner. There's something called the 6 Cs, and you can see all the names. I'm sure you can all read. I hate it when people read slides to you. But really, the Portrait of the Learner is about what guides our instruction and how we plan our instruction here in the district. We use these traits, the creativity, critical thinking, citizenship, collaboration. We think about these things when we actually plan our lessons and our units for students learning. And so that really is a guidepost for us as teachers and educators for the lessons that we share with your students. It drives our academics. It drives our social and emotional learning. It drives how we set up our school as a whole. Next slide. So when we think about student-centered approach, we want to think about empowering our students, not just in academics, but where they can reach beyond just academics. We think about one of the things I've been telling our teachers as we slowly bring back children is we want our kids to love learning. It's not just about mastery. Mastery of learning is super important, but we want them to have fun while they learn. That is critical and important in our program for our students. We had already mentioned our 6 Cs as that guides our learning, as well as thinking about not just kindergarten or 6th grade, but thinking about the whole TK8 experience with curriculum and how we organize our program and instruction. And then the thing that I love most about our community here at Oak, this is my 3rd year here at Oak, is we are a small neighborhood community. Many of our families bring their children, they walk to school together, they ride their bikes together. They come onto campus before and after school. It's just a very tight-knit community, and you'll hear that tonight when our parents talk and when our teachers are talking about our school community. Next slide. In the classroom, we think about our students as individuals. We think about, I think Ms. Kim is one of our teachers who you'll hear from tonight. She'll share with you how she really thinks about where kids come to us and then takes them from the point they come to us. And we have kids that come to us in all different areas, in academics, in social and emotional learning. And we really look at where they are and take them to the next step. We love for our programs to be using manipulatives, hands-on, labs, really so that children can experience the learning and making those connections, opposed to, you know, handing out worksheets and rote learning. We really want them to engage and anchor their learning on experiences and hands-on approach. And that leads right into our project-based learning. When you think about project-based, you might think of taking an entire curriculum, and that doesn't necessarily need to always be that way. It could be taking a unit and weaving arts and social studies and science into our program and into a unit together. When you are at our school, you'll notice that there is an emphasis on social emotional learning. And we are so fortunate. We have a full-time psychologist at our school. We have an amazing special education team that supports our students who might have more challenges academically. And we also have a care team that looks at students for their emotional health and growth. We have connections with our older students, our buddy program that helps bring that connection and emotional connection here at school. And then we are exploring some different types of social emotional curriculum. We have something called Project Cornerstone, which is near and dear to my heart, using literature to teach lessons around staying safe and being kind and working through problems socially, as well as some of our teachers are using Sweets 360, which is a social emotional learning program that some of our teachers are using right now. Earlier in the 60s, you saw the need for collaboration, and that's so important for our students. Even though right now we are distance, we still collaborate together. We still make meaning of the content. And that's really the essential piece about learning is that collaboration and academic dialogue that happens in discussion. And then discovery, the exploration in kindergarten that happens, and discovery and play and understanding and discovering and science and through labs. And so those are all key pieces that we use in our student-centered approach to pull on the different strengths that our students come to us and have. Next slide. I had already mentioned a well-rounded education. We have, it's a world-renowned STEM program. It truly is. We have been to many conferences that are international conferences and have been key speakers at conferences with our staff across our district. Our C-STEM program, where we're teaching children all the way starting at TK to 8th grade to code and program and learn computer science, is a modeled program that people look to around our area to replicate. One of the other programs that I love is the Living Classroom. I'm a very nature-based outdoor person in general, and so our children have the opportunity also across our district and at our school to learn about nature or social studies or science through our nature and environment. I had already mentioned Project Cornerstone, which is very critical to our social emotional learning here at our school. We have a wonderful Los Altos art docent program, which provides lessons to our students when we're in person and online. I was just working with the lead art docent about our online art show that we're going to be having in the spring. So very excited about that. And then our reading and writing Teachers College Connection. That is the foundation for our literacy program. We've had teachers attend across the school to their workshops at the Teacher College in New York City. And right now, of course, we're not traveling, but we still have teachers attending virtually. I know that both of our kindergarten teachers, for example, went to workshops this summer. And even I think recently, Ms. Kim, one of our kindergarten teachers, attended some workshops. So they're a very strong connection for the foundation of our literacy program. Next slide. So I was mentioning our teachers before, and this is the great place. We're gonna show you a video in a moment. This is actually our teacher, Miss Kim, as part of our presentation, speaking a little bit about her experience as a teacher. And then I'm gonna have Miss Chin, our other kindergarten teacher, speak a little bit about her experience. But go ahead and hit the slide, and let's go ahead and get that started. Oh, you have to unclick the button right there, There you go, Lauren. Yep. And turn up your volume on your computer. Turn off your mute, Miss Kim.
Love them so much. Let's fix up our bell power. Check to make sure you have a lowercase b, u, and g. Okay. It's really important to have great teachers in good schools, teams that share a philosophy and really come together with student learning as a focus and a goal. Instruction is of extremely high quality here. Our teachers do such a good job teaching students because they know students. When we think about personalized learning, you can't personalize learning for kids unless you know them.
You have to find this one first.
By looking at the individual needs and looking at ways that children can collaborate and work together, it is beyond what you might see in a scripted kind of curriculum, which is a much more traditional type of approach.
If you come into our classrooms, kids will be working with their peers, especially in higher level learning like critical thinking and working cooperatively with each other, because those skills are very important for our children to learn, not only just academics and the skills, but also how to use them and how to relate to people and how to be able to solve problems using the skills and knowledge that they have.
Shift the sword.
Teaching and learning for us is always responsive, making sure that who's in front of me is helping inform my instruction. Learning exists beyond that comfort zone, and our teachers are experts at being able to do that.
You want to pause again before that and split there too.
Relationships are the key to pretty much everything in Los Altos. We value relationships with our teachers, with our staffs, with our students, and we know that if we hire teachers who believe equally in that relationship piece, they're going to be successful.
So, Ms. Kim, I want you to get a chance to kind of say why you love teaching kindergarten at this time. And then we'll also give a chance for our other kindergarten teacher, Ms. Chen, to share a little bit about her experience this year and coming to our school. So Ms. Kim, if you could go first.
Well, I just want to first say hello, and you got to see me on video, but I wish I could see all of your faces. I think that's part of the connection piece that makes this a little bit tricky. And I just want to recognize and acknowledge that these are not precedented times, and I really miss those. Sometimes even last weekend feels like precedented times. That said, I'm an avid reader, and part of something that grounds me in my life right now is reading. And I just want to share something with you. It comes from a memoir, and I've been on a big memoir kick lately, and it goes, nothing but uncertainty is certain. Circumstances can come together only to fall apart moments or months later. And then in a flash, we must rise up and regain our footing. In the rearview mirror, I see so clearly what escaped me then. It's not that the ground underneath me is suddenly shifting. It's that the ground underneath us is never still. That's part of the work of our journey, getting comfortable with life's groundlessness. And I think that whether we're gathering this way on Zoom or whether we're gathering in person in different ways, I think that we are all striving to do the best we can. So I'm leaning into groundlessness, and I'm trying to continue to look for where the light pours in. Tonight, I've been asked to share a little bit of why I love kindergarten. And so I'm going to try and give you a tiny snapshot of that tonight. The first thing you need to know is that every day I get to live out my passion. I teach because I want to make a difference in the world, in me. And I get to do that here at Oak each and every day. I love kindergarten for so many reasons. And I typed a little note so I could remind myself when I got onto Zoom, and I would feel a little bit nervous talking to you about why I love it so much or so good, and how could I share it with you in a short bit. And I guess the truth is, I fiercely love tiny readers and writers, because Team Kindergarten, Phoebe and I, we champion reading and writing each and every day. We help build student identities so that they proclaim, I'm a reader and I'm a writer. I don't simply want your child to have a relationship with literature, but rather a relationship with literacy. Reading and writing is not simply what we do. It's part of who we are. In mathematics and in life, we help kids push their thinking. We equip them with strategies and tools to not only solve a math problem flexibly, but also tackle the problems that life may throw their way. And if I'm being honest, there's a lot these days. Kindergartners, you'll find at Oak School, take pride in declaring, I'm a problem solver, and they have a strategy to do it. Beyond academics, as Team Kindergarten, we want 3 big things for your children. We want them to be kind, we want them to be wise, and we want them to be resilient. And everybody can choose kind, and you might be looking at me funny through your computer screen wondering how on earth can a kindergartner possibly be wise? But I'll push you on that and say kindergartners can be wise enough to walk away or wise enough to ask for help. And the resilience piece is important now more than ever, not only for kindergartners as they embark on the start of their academic career, but also in life. So here's the thing, I've hit the big somethings that we believe to be the most important to share about Team Kindergarten. And still, I don't feel like it captures all the things I love. I think it's the little things, the moments, the stories, the struggles, and the laughs that really matter most. I once had a conversation with a kindergartner that I'll never forget. And the story, it began in truth with an eye-rolling conversation. The student's eye roll was so good. And it was about a writing workshop job that he really wasn't doing at the moment. So I walked in the conversation thinking that I might first have to explain what an eye roll is and why it maybe wasn't an appropriate response to pull out your writing folder. But the student surprised me and tested my ability to conceal my emotions. I asked, can we talk about that thing you did with your eyes? When I said you'd probably need to finish your writing piece you didn't get to this day. And he floored me entirely, naming nonchalantly, oh, you mean my eye roll? So I laughed because I thought he might not have known his body had the biggest response, but he knew exactly what it was and exactly why we were having this chat. And before I implored him to get his things and partner alongside of him, I asked him, the thing is, I love you so much. I want your writing to be part of you. And I wonder what that might look like for us today. I asked, do you know how much I love you? And he said, how much? So of course I replied, higher than the sky and deeper than the ocean. And after clarifying that, yes, my love for him stretched past the International Space Station, he grinned, sat up taller, and with a pep in his step, walked to his writing folder, excited to be partnering with me, just me and him that day, turned to me midway and said, Miss Kim, I love you deeper than the Mariana Trench. And while he got his writing folder, I looked mildly puzzled and I Googled, and in case you're wondering, the Mariana Trench is the deepest known point in the Earth's ocean. And at first I was struck immediately by this small moment. I have so many funny stories and nutty stories and a little bit of everything in between, but this moment was so profound, and I think this is how I will promise to end with you. We as Team Kindergarten, we work so closely, and I feel really thankful to have incredible teammates and staff. Los Altos School District is exceptional in supporting their teachers and pouring into us so that we can pour everything we've got into your students. I'm here to do what's best for kids, and undoubtedly, that's why you're here too. The more I've gotten to know Oak, my students, their parents, and the community, the more I've fallen in love. The minute I stepped on campus, I knew I felt at home. I hope you'll feel that same feeling tonight. I hope you find an Oak School love deeper than the Mariana Trench. I hope that you felt it a little bit, and I hope that you continue to feel it as we partner in this journey together, because it might feel groundless, but we've got this, and together we'll find comfort in each other. We look forward to our newest minted kindergartners coming this fall. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Kim. Excellent. Miss Chen, again, I apologize. My video screen sharing for staff and parents and panelists are not working tonight, but Miss Chen, our other fabulous kindergarten teacher, is new to our school this year. And I wanted her to share a little bit about her experience as a new person, just like you will be a new person coming, your child, your family will be a new person coming to our school, and to share a little bit about what that's been like for her here at Oak School.
Okay. Hi, thanks Mrs. Tao for that nice introduction. Hi everybody, I'm Phoebe. I'm one of the kindergarten teachers here. I'm so lucky to be one of the kindergarten teachers here. A little bit about myself. I'm new to the Oak community, but I'm actually not new to the Los Altos community. I grew up attending Los Altos schools, and a fun fact, my very own kindergarten teacher still teaches kindergarten here. So that tells you a lot about Los Altos, that teachers want to stay here and they want to come back, like me. So what I love about kindergarten at Oak, I mean, there's so many things that Ms. Kim talked about, all the big buckets of learning, the student-centered approaches. There's just so many great things, but what I want to talk about is just the sense of community between the families, the staff, and the admin. I mean, this year, we all know that school looks a little bit different right now, and state guidelines and mandates are always changing. But what I feel like hasn't changed at all is just how tight-knit the Oak community is. The staff, family, and admins, they have all come together, and they're all committed to supporting one another, supporting student growth, going out of their way for each other, and prioritizing each other's safety. And that's the reason why Oak is open and thriving today. So I love kindergarten. I love the families I'm working with. This year is just in particular so unique. I get to partner with families as they go through online learning and at-home learning. And that's just been a really encouraging experience to be a part of. So yeah, the Oak community is all about serving each other and taking care of one another. And so basically what I want to say is that you'll love Oak just like I do. Thank you, Mrs. Tao. Thank you, everyone.
Ms. Chen, thank you so much. Stick around, and definitely Lauren, since you're driving the, Ms. Kim, since you're driving the presentation, and we can maybe answer questions at the end of the session. If you can go ahead and go on to the next slide, you can see why I feel so honored to be the principal at Oak School. We have amazing staff and amazing teachers here at our school. And it kind of leads right in. I mean, we talked a lot about the social emotional and the love of learning. And with that, you can see how well our students are achieving. We still do not take the eye off of mastery, and mastery is not just about these test scores, but they're one of the pieces of evidence that you would say that our children are thriving here in our district, and we're super proud. Last year, we were chosen as a school to be a California Distinguished School. Before everything shut down, I took a group of teachers that helped write the application for that process. And we went down for our ceremony down in LA with our state superintendent, Tony Thurman, and it was a wonderful celebration. And if you drive by the school during school hours, you will see our flag waving under our state and our American flag proudly, and this is our second time receiving the award, as well as a few years back we received the National Blue Ribbon Achievement Award. So mastery of learning is important to us, as well as all of the other pieces of the whole child are critical in the success of our children here at Oak Avenue. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you. So engaged community. We've had one of the things I had mentioned earlier, how our families know each other because they're from the neighborhood. They can walk to school, they can bike to school. We have so many school-wide events. One of my favorites that we do at the beginning of the year is called the International Festival. We had to revamp it a bit this year, but in the past, we have come in costumes, and there have been dancers of different cultures and food and stations of my goodness. And I know Sarah's going to be able to tell you how many different cultures and communities that people have represented in our international festival. But it's one of my favorite events for a variety of different reasons, but you get to really celebrate the diversity at Oak School. You get to celebrate your heritage, your culture, or your interest in a culture. It's not just where you're from, but we have some families that just want to share another culture with the rest of the community. I love that part. I love that part of our community, that we come from so many different places, not just from here in Los Altos, but from around the United States, from around the world. And you really do see that in our international community here at Oak. That event at the very beginning of the year is so much fun because the kids are there, the adults are there, and everyone connects. And that is, I feel like, a great example of summing up our Oak community. Events like that bring people together. It's not about fundraising. It's not about money making. It's about our community and who we are and our interests and our backgrounds, and coming together to celebrate those differences and who we are as a community, an Oak Avenue community. So I'm going to hand it off to Sarah Payne. She is our PTA president. This is her second year. And she can share a little bit with you about our Oak Avenue PTA.
Yes, hi. Welcome, potential new families. My name is Sarah. I look forward to seeing you in person next year, or those of you who are going to be here the following year. As Kimberly mentioned, I am the PTA president at Oak. This is my second year in that role. And I would just like to echo that the community is a big part of what makes Oak. And it's a big part of what makes the school work the way it does. I didn't realize how much I may have taken that for granted until this year, when I'm not on campus, and didn't realize how much just the saying hi at drop off and pick up really does keep everyone connected. You get to know the kids, you get to know the parents. The PTA sort of serves as the main community builder on campus. So we are the ones that put on and sponsor so many of those community events. The International Festival that Kimberly mentioned is one of our most popular. We've had upwards of 120 countries represented at our international festival at any given time. The kids love it. You will be amazed at the things your kids will eat when you just let them wander around and taste things from all the different tables set up. We have an Oak talent show that is always a huge, another favorite of the year. Whatever it might be, whether your child plays an instrument or sings or dances. We've had gymnastics routines. We've had entire classes get together and write their own rap or, spoken word that they've performed together. So magic shows, you name it, whatever our kids can dream up, there's a place for it there. The walkathon we have every year is sort of a joint fundraiser community building event that is one the kids look forward to every year, when our big field gets turned into an obstacle course as well as a spot. You'll have parents there helping them mark their laps off on the lap cards. You have the kids walking, running, jumping, skipping, hopping, whatever it might be. And we have lots of little stations around the where kids can get tattoos or handing out snacks. And what's often amazing to me is that Oak alum will often come back to man those stations. So kids who still feel so connected to the school that they come back to help out. So as PTA president, we sort of, the PTA works to put on all of these community events. We also help source all of the volunteer opportunities. You will find that part of what makes the community is being involved, and some of it is through those community events. Some of them are in the classroom. Some of them are things that might happen in taking care of our campus off hours. So there's often the assumption that, only people who work from home or have flexible jobs or aren't working can volunteer. There is a place for everyone in our community. Many of the people who help with our gardens, for instance, do it in the evenings or on weekends. There are sort of more technical tasks like our webmaster or communications platform admins that can be done sort of after hours or from home. So we appreciate all of the talents and enthusiasm that our families bring to the school, and make sure there really is a place for everyone. And when that happens, you do see the school function as a community. You see parents getting to know not just their kids, or not just their kids and their kids' friends, but really all of the kids at the school, their families. And because of that, we all step up to sort of take greater responsibility for the whole child at Oak. So the community is one of the most important aspects of Oak for us and for our family. I've been at Oak now for, if I'm doing the math, I think this is my 8th year. My second son is in 4th grade, and realizing that with only 2 years left, I've sort of surprised myself at the roots I've put down at Oak. And as I start to see us moving out, there's definitely a community feel that I will definitely miss as we move on to bigger schools down the road. I'm always here if you have questions about just community life at Oak. That's sort of where the PTA steps in and does their best, working your way in. Any ideas? We've had people come in and say, hey, let's try this. We're always welcome to, we're always ready to have new ideas and sort of let you run with a project if it works for us at the school. So welcome. And again, I look forward to actually being able to see all of you in person next year. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Very well said. And then we have Amy Wang. She is part of our lead team for Los Altos Education Foundation. And there is a difference between our PTA and a foundation. And I always talk about how our PTA funds a lot of the things and builds the community at the school. They help fund our technology, our professional development for teachers, our equipment, PE equipment, and things like that. And then our foundation, they work across the district and fund some of our really critical and beloved programs. And she's also very involved with our Project Cornerstone and Social Emotional Learning Committee. So I'd like to introduce Amy to you, and she can share a little bit more about that program here in our district. Oh,
okay.
Oh, there she is. Good.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join today. As Kimberly mentioned, I'm Amy. And I actually wanted to, before I jump into the foundation, wanted to share a little bit of personal story, because I can imagine that you're probably taking in a lot of information right now. And if this is the first time, is in your first child entering kindergarten or transition kindergarten, this could feel like a lot. And so I thought maybe my personal story could be a little helpful. My family, this is my family's 6th year at Oak, and we actually moved back to the US from Singapore in 2015. We had been living abroad for 3.5 years. And we moved back because we were trying to figure out what to do with our children's education. And we were very, very lucky to have found Oak. We did our research beforehand, and we wanted to be in Los Altos School District because of its excellent programs, but we had no idea what else was there. So we moved, and then come fall, we landed in June, rented a house, and then, by early August, we were at school. At that time, my oldest was just 6 years old, and he had never been to any sort of school but a little preschool, because that's how it worked in Singapore. You don't start primary education until 1st grade. So this was a lot for all of us, but we were so lucky because Oak is a small neighborhood school, And I still remember very clearly on day one after I dropped off my son, you know, we have new parent coordinators or welcoming committees for you when you come join us. And I clearly remember one of the parents kind of literally taking me under her wing and saying, okay, come with me now. We're going to this, you know, welcome back, you know, first day of school. And then I entered the Motai and there's like all these tables and boards and all these volunteer opportunities. And I was totally overwhelmed, but she just took me under her wing and guided me around, explained everything very patiently. And actually that's how I ended up selecting to join Project Cornerstone and volunteer. And that's been sort of one of my main passions at Oak since then. So this is also my 6th year on the Project Cornerstone committee. So that's just to give you an example. The staff, teachers, and families are all very supportive at Oak, and I would just echo everyone's sentiment around what makes Oak is really the people, the families, the community, the teachers and staff. And what we have really come to love about Oak is beyond the community is also the excellent and the cooperative teachers. With both my children's experience, so now I have a 6th grader and a 3rd grader, I really feel and have continued to feel from all of their experience that the teachers really do connect with individual children, each student in their classroom. And it's through that connection that our children are able to thrive. And I have found that with both my kids. And I have to say, I am so amazed with my 6th graders' ability to stay on task right now in our current situation. And I think that's due to the foundation of all his years at Oak and the relationship he's had with all his past teachers and the new one he's building, even though it's through distance, with his 6th grade teachers. And the 6th grade teachers is such a team together. So they actually split. 6th grade works a little bit like middle school at Oak. So he gets to experience both teachers, which is wonderful. And they start to build not just a classroom community, but also a grade level community. So I have to say I'm seeing the fruits of all those years. And also there's a strong focus on social emotional learning. So Kimberly already mentioned Project Cornerstone, but the teachers also do a lot of professional development in that area. In many of the classrooms, teachers are using responsive classroom, which really uses a very positive framing to guide students towards desired behavior rather than, you know, the negative framing that focuses more on punishment, which works so much better and works so well with the kids. Again, that builds on the connection and really that personal engagement with the teacher. And then of course, the balanced curriculum, which you saw in that well-rounded education slide, and fun. There's lots of fun at Oak through all the events that Sarah mentioned, and then also not to mention the in-class stuff. And actually some of that in-class stuff is happening online. We have parents putting together party in a bag. You know, we just got our room parents organized. So we're going to bring the parties in a bag, totally COVID safe, and for everyone to have some fun with virtual parties, because fun is a very important element part of learning. So in addition to all of that, I would also say that Oak is part of such an excellent school district, a district that has continued to, I would say, particularly in this time, innovate and be flexible and rethink as needed in terms of how to bring our students back and do it in the optimal way that works for the students and the teachers and the staff, and making sure that we're safe. And that's the most important part in thinking about sustainable reopening. Let me take that then to Los Altos Education Foundation. So you saw on that one of the slides, the well-rounded education, there were some programs in there that are supported through the foundation. So this foundation is district-wide, is a separate nonprofit organization that raises money to support the education programs across all schools within Los Altos School District. Through that support, our kids have access to engaging learning experiences in the arts, in STEM, in PE, and library programs. And PE, I say PE because everyone understands what that means, but really what we look at from the foundation is the wellness, total wellness for students. So for example, in this time, PE looks very different. And so the district has rethought and continues to rethink how PE can be designed and delivered. And so now we're doing monthly challenges, and perhaps in the spring, we'll find a way to still do the Junior Olympics, which is a wonderful district-wide community building event where we actually, come together, grades 4 to 6 get to compete across schools within the district in all sorts of different sort of Olympic style events. And what's so amazing is that you'll get students who have graduated out of those elementary schools into the junior highs and come back and help. So again, that speaks to the overall community, just not just Oak, but also LASD. So with that, I will hand it back to Kimberly, but wanted to say thank you for joining and hope to see you next year or the year after. You have my name on the slide, and Kimberly can always give you my information if you have any questions about the foundation.
Thank you, Amy, very much. And so you get a sense, and Amy's not a non-working parent. She has another job on top of everything that she's doing, and so does Sarah. And that's what you see in our community. You see a lot of people that are able to make it work and volunteer and be part of the community, and still hold great responsibility to other things like raising their kids and doing other working outside the home and things like that. So thank you both very much for being here tonight. Lauren, would you move the slide forward? I know we have many kindergarten or possible TK families. This slide here gives you a little bit of information about the kinds of things that are happening, the type of day. We have a full day kindergarten TK program. Starts at 8:30 typically. TK usually starts a little bit later because it's not always at the same school and there needs to be a little travel time between schools. But it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Thursday from 8:30 to 1:30. And that's typical for across the school. We have a reduced minimum day, where we have some planning time for our teachers on Thursdays. We've shifted it a bit this year with our schedule. Our schedule looks a little bit different this year. But we're hitting all the core academic areas, even in TK and kindergarten, as well as if you look, you can see all the extensions of specials from PE, music, arts, library, STEM, and computer science, even in TK and kindergarten, as well as our social emotional skills. You can move the slide. Great. So I'm not going to play this video. I think you have already, and I see we're running a little long because we started a little late. So I am going to share this presentation with you, but it's more people talking here from the Oak community about how wonderful our school is. And I know that you already know that. I know we have people here to speak to that tonight. But it is a video on our website as well as on the district website. And I will share the presentation with all of you. Since you registered for the webinar, I will be able to share this information with you tonight along with a recording of our video. So next slide. Oh, yeah, just go ahead and move on to the next slide. Thanks. More importantly, I have two students here that can tell you themselves about Oak School. So I have Chloe and Nishi. These are two of our wonderful 6th grade students. And I'm going to have Chloe share a little bit with you about her experience here at Oak Avenue School.
Okay, Hello, my name is Chloe Outen. I am 12 years old and I am a sixth grader at Oak Elementary School. I have gone to Oak for 6 years, and in that time, I have learned, grown, and been prepared to enter the world as a young adult. An oak tree is believed to be a symbol of morale, strength, resistance, and most importantly, knowledge. After all, knowledge is the most sought out power in the world. As novelist Frank Herbert once said, the beginning of knowledge is the discovery of something we do not understand. Knowledge is power, and knowledge is the foundation of all great discoveries. Oak School taught me that. When I first joined Oak, I was just starting kindergarten and had moved from Marblehead, Massachusetts about a year before. For me, the classroom was an exciting place to learn new things and make new friends. I felt that I belonged, and despite moving only a short time ago, everybody was warm and welcoming, and I loved my teachers. In first grade, I learned how to read and write. This was a big moment for me because I had then developed a love for reading, and writing is my favorite subject in school. I also discovered how to do math in a more advanced way, as math is a highly valued subject in the real world. Because of this, my teachers made sure to give me a strong base in all subjects so that I could improve my learning. I also began to read more and more at that age, and was introduced to the Harry Potter books, along with other series that increased my love of reading. In second grade, my mother was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, MS, and had to go to the hospital to get chemotherapy. I was too young to understand this, but at 8 years of age, I was lucky enough to have people that cared about me and was in a welcoming environment with supporting teachers and caring friends. Once my mom was released from the hospital, things were different, but that just became the new normal. The people that I care about embraced the change, and we got through it together. In third grade, I began to go to the library more and more to grow as a reader. Often, my friends and I would go to the library and read on the three little blue couches, or play board games, or just discuss our new favorite things. Then we would read while we ate. Then we would read during quiet time. All we needed was to be there together, and that's all that matters. In fourth grade, I began an odd collection of experiments on glue and contact cleaner that gave some very interesting results. My teacher encouraged such experimentation and was very supportive of our antics. Support like that is highly important in the growth of the brain, and Oak Avenue School made sure that all of its students felt free to express themselves and go out of their comfort zones. In fifth grade, I experienced, for the first time, virtual school. It was certainly something to get used to, but I learned how to adapt to new environments and how to improvise. Our teachers made sure that we were happy and learning, which makes the student education all the better. In sixth grade, I had read all of the dystopian novels and young adult novels that I could find, and began to develop an interest in novels on political science and forensic crime. My teachers eagerly recommended new books for me to read, and I am a better reader because of that. So, in conclusion, I am glad that you chose Oak Avenue Elementary School for your child, because it helped me grow as a learner, a reader, a mathematician, and a person. My teachers, my classmates, and my school were there when I needed a friend, when I was lonely, or when I was beaming with joy. My school was there when I got braces, when I fell in love with front and back bending contortion and flexibility, and all of those moments in life you share with those who care about you the most. No matter what, I became the person I am today because of those people. That community and those friends, they just lifted me up. To me, learning is described in this quote by philanthropist and business magnate Richard Branson. You don't learn by following rules. You learn by doing and falling over. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chloe. Well said. Thank you. It's great to hear your perspective and all those years of experience at Oak. Nishi, your turn. Can you share a little bit about your perspective and experience at Oak with the families?
Thank you all for, yes, I can. Thank you all for this opportunity to share my experience at Oak School. My name is Nishant Vishwanathan, and I am a 6th grade student at Oak. I joined the school in 1st grade, and I was immediately struck by how welcoming and caring the teachers and students were. It was very easy to make friends in my grade due to the small class sizes. I also made friends with students in the upper grades thanks to the buddy system. Making connections to the families at Oak also happens through our dedicated parents who participate in classroom learning, such as math centers, class trips, and becoming mentors in Project Cornerstone, a special program to teach social and emotional well-being. The pandemic has certainly made learning more challenging for both teachers and students. The teachers and the principal, Ms. Sattel, have gone above and beyond to make online learning fun, interactive, and challenging. There are many more group activities, including daily class meetings, read aloud, and small group projects for peer interaction. We have had a few class parties to celebrate the holidays, which were really fun. The teachers have one-on-one meets with each student to set goals and discuss areas of improvement. My two teachers, Miss McNeil and Miss Kavanaugh, have really worked hard to get to know me and have helped me thrive through the distance learning. I can't wait to be in their classroom on campus in the new year. I can only imagine how great it'll be. Oak also has wonderful enrichment classes, which I've enjoyed, such as music, STEM with computer science, and the opportunity to work on class plays and music performances that we get to share with the whole school. We also have the annual GeoBee, Spelling Bee, and the STEM Expo, which are amazing activities to watch and participate in. The STEM Expo is an awesome science fair where students put together the most creative experiments. Upper grades get to go on overnight excursions to Coloma in 4th grade, Pigeon Point in 5th grade, and Walden West in 6th grade. Coloma was such a fantastic field trip where I developed the courage to be away from home the first time. I learned more about the California gold rush while I panned for gold, hiked with my friends, sang and danced, and drank hot cocoa around the campfire. Oak has so many team building activities that involve the whole school where we get to show our school spirit. These events include the Walkathon, Spooktacular, International Fair, and the Junior Olympics. Oak is such a tight-knit school where everybody knows each other and looks out for each other. I have grown so much along with my classmates, teachers, principal, and the families that make up our community. I am so lucky to be a student at this school.
Nishi, thank you so much for sharing tonight your perspective and your memories and the things that helped you grow as a student here at Oak. Chloe and Nishi, thank you. It is getting kind of late, and so I am going to go ahead and excuse the students from the presentation so that they can wrap up any kind of homework and get ready for bed so they're well rested for tomorrow. So thank you again for joining us. Ms. Kim, would you mind turning the slide? So, as you have heard, the year looks a little different. The year looks very different this year. And as we think about the coming year, we have some things to think about. This year, we've used this as a continuum of instruction where you see on the left side, we have 100 in person, and on the right side, we have 100% virtual. And in the middle, that's kind of where we are right now. We are blended. We're in blended instruction with a portion of our students on campus daily. If this is something that families are not comfortable with, they can choose to have virtual teachers, completely virtual school. We actually created a separate virtual school, and we had cut points throughout the year where families can opt into that. We really want to give families choice and be in a partnership with our families. And we've worked very hard as a school district to prepare our lessons so that when we are students are working at home, if they are not in person, that they have the same curriculum, whether you're in the virtual school or at home distant learning or in the classroom. And so this has been a time period where you can definitely see things shaking out, where you have families. We have probably more families in our virtual program across the district than any one school right now. every school has lost a few families, but they're still part of our Oak community in the sense that they're still connected. They still receive our newsletters. They still are involved with our technology, our PTA. They still can watch our assemblies and that we have weekly. And so even though children might go to attend the virtual school, they're still part of Oak community. Go ahead and change to the next slide. I think that, you know, depending on the circumstances, we're hoping that we'll be in person, but we wanted to give you some information tonight in case we weren't in person next year. So the blended model currently is that we have 2 days in person with the classroom teacher and 3 days mostly at home independent learning. Every day though, students get to meet with their teacher. And we have the students in the classroom divided in half. And I'm going to show you a video in a few moments that gives you a sense of what the classrooms look like and gives you a sense of what the playground looks like. There are a lot of protocols in place that we have to structure the school very differently than we have before. So you'll get a chance to see a little bit of that in just a moment. In our virtual school program, children attend virtually with a schedule of asynchronous and synchronous learning. And so asynchronous just means independent. It's a fancy word for independent. And synchronous means that they're in lessons with the teachers online. 1 day is mostly asynchronous, which is our Wednesday. Across the district, our teachers meet with the students in the morning, whether they're in the blended model or the virtual school model, and they start off the day together. They do some community building. They set them up for the day, and then the teachers work on some planning to be able to continue this process, planning and meeting time throughout the rest of the day on Wednesday. So our schedule does look a little bit different than it has in the past. Go ahead and turn the next slide. We have several protocols in place to ensure that we are preventing and mitigating risk and illness in our classes. We require that the adults are maintaining 6 feet of distance, and we have small cohorts in our kindergarten through 5th grade classes. Those kids play together, they eat lunch together, they're in the class together, all while wearing facial coverings. And the teacher inside the classroom is wearing facial coverings. We clean on a regular basis. You'll see some of that in the video. High touch surfaces. We wash and sanitize hands all the time. We have wash stations everywhere. We teach the kids how to appropriately wash their hands, and we do this frequently. We have the option for our families and our staff. We highly encourage our staff to sign up for monthly COVID testing through our partnership with El Camino Hospital. And we encourage to keep our hands away from our mouth, from our eyes, and from our nose. Go ahead and change to the next slide. So I wanted to show you this video, and on this video, Miss Kim, you'll see in the bottom that there's a mute button. I want this video muted actually. So if you go ahead and start it, go ahead and just click on that and then click mute. Perfect. So I wanted to talk over this. I didn't reduce the sound, but this is an example of some of our classrooms. You'll see how the desks are spread apart. Students are in their space learning. The teachers actually kind of might have missed her. You'll get a chance to see her again, but children are learning a lesson about math in this. And here's another classroom where a teacher is talking to a student, but they're 6 feet apart. And here is a 3rd grade classroom. Again, students are working, the teacher is answering questions, and students are working independently. Here's Miss Chen, our kindergarten teacher, and talking a little bit about using some Unifex cubes, I believe it was, and it was a math lesson. But that gives you a sense of what it looks like when we are in person. Very small class sizes, as you have seen, not that many kids. Kids are spaced apart. Here's a picture of some of our PE equipment. Each classroom has their own equipment that they use and is sanitized at the end of the day. some of our safety protocols and reminders to students about washing their hands. And here we have, after children have had lunch or snack, they're cleaning the tables before anyone else comes to sit there. And this is what our playground looks like. We have a 14-acre campus, and you'll notice that we have colored coned areas for our 1st through 5th grade, 6th grade children. Our kindergarten playground you'll see in a few moments, but you can see this small cohort, they're in class together. It's hard to tell, but they are still wearing, as they're playing, they're still wearing their facial coverings. They stay together 25 feet away from any other cohort. And here's our kindergarten playground. You barely don't even see the kids. They're on the play structure. But you can see that the kids are up on the play structure. There's just a handful of kids that are here together. It keeps the cohort small. It keeps ability to really track if any outbreak happens. We're able to track that outbreak and contact trace and be able to quarantine if necessary. And these are what we call our landing pads. The orange cones actually have teachers' names, and it's a 37 by 37 foot squared pad area. Each classroom has that, and when children arrive to school, when children leave in the afternoon, when children end recess, when children end lunch, and if there's an emergency, that is their landing pad. That is where they go, and our teachers pick them up there. Our families and dismissal processes from that spot. And if there's an emergency, that is where they go. And so we've really thought about the structure of our school during these pandemic times to keep kids safe. To make sure that they understand the routines and procedures. In those videos, you probably outside saw lots of adults. We have extra staff to monitor and supervise students and really make sure that we are keeping children safe and keeping our staff safe. Go ahead and turn to the next slide. One more, sorry. So what families love about Oak Avenue? I love Oak's experienced and passionate teachers who personalize learning. Oak is an inclusive school where all children are known and supported by all teachers and staff. You heard Nishi talk about goal setting and getting to know him as a learner. Our teachers and administrators, coupled with parent support and donations, are key to making Oak a great school. We always greatly appreciate. We really truly could not run the kind of program that we have unless you were part of it. And so that is very critical as a school community. We need our parents to be involved. We love our parents to be involved. We love to get to know our families. And as you can see, our families and students and teachers are so happy to be part of our community. So it takes a collective effort. I think the next slide is our question and answer. Oh, next steps. So here on this slide, and again, you're going to get this presentation. Here are all the links to the registration process, the deadlines. You also have links to some of the videos that I shared tonight with you, our reopening page from our district, and our health and safety coronavirus page as well. So that will be coming to you later on this evening. And then next click, I think, is our question and answer. There you go. So Miss Kim, I'm going to have you exit out or stop sharing and then hover over my name and make me the host again, if you wouldn't mind. And while we do that, okay, great, I'm the host now. So I know that there might be some questions. I already have seen a question. You're more than welcome to put in the chat or in the Q&A box. But one of the questions that I have from Sean here is, what after-school programs are offered for kindergarten until what time? And so the time we have several, and I'm actually also going to send a flyer to you with this that outlines, last year we had 18 different after school programs. And so it was very, very packed, and it wasn't, not every program was for kindergarten, but we had everything from drama to art to cooking for our kindergarten students. We had some physical activity ones like tennis and basketball. And so it really runs the gamut of high variety of different types of after school programs are available for kindergarten through 6th grade students. So I'll send that flyer to you later on tonight so you can peruse that. Another question is, what is the class size, and are there teacher aides? So you might have seen in the video someone cleaning the table. That's one of our kindergarten aides, Miss Andy. She's also a parent at our school. And so our kindergarten class, kindergarten through, or TK, through 3rd grade, we don't usually go past 25 students. We try to keep it small to 25 students. And then for our kindergarten, we have aides in kindergarten for most of the day. There's a little half an hour break at the beginning and the end that we don't have an aide in the classrooms. And then for our 1st and 2nd grade, we have literacy aides that come in 4 times a week for about 45 minutes to assist in each of the 1st and 2nd grade classrooms. In 3rd grade, we don't have aides typically, and in 4th and 5th and 6th grades, we don't typically have aides. We have a little larger classes because kids are more independent, starting in 4th grade, and we can go up to 30. Right now, our classes are on the smaller range, plus they are split in half. So we have classes and days where we only have 7 or 8 kindergartners in a cohort in a classroom on Monday, Tuesday, and the next Thursday, Friday, there might be 9. So they're really small, especially in our primary classes. In our upper grade and 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, we have anywhere from about 11 to 15 in a cohort, but typically anywhere from 20, 21 to 30 in a class, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Oh, I love that we have a 6th grader come in. We always have a few 6th graders that come in, and it's such a great opportunity for our 6th graders, new students, to come in and get to know other students before they go off to middle school or junior high, Block or Egan. Our school typically feeds into Block school, and we've every year have a few students that are coming into us from 6th grade, and when they do, they have an opportunity to meet other kids. I think the best way is to get involved with some of the after school programs. For a smooth transition, we have a wonderful Mathletes Club after school, and we have a chess club that meets during lunch. And those are kinds of things where you can meet kids socially and get involved. We have kids that come to the middle of the year, and so we try to make those connections for them as well. I'm also going to look here on the chat. I have some people that are putting questions in the chat, so I'm going to go over to the chat. Is virtual already confirmed for the 21-22 school year? No, it is not. You know, the governor, I don't know if you heard, but the governor came on today, and he talked about a partial kind of shelter in place. But what they are really feeling is that schools need to be open. And we know that that's important for our families, and for families that they feel safe to have that in-person experience is critical for their children. They really want to have our schools open, and we've been doing it very safely thus far. So we had that continuum that I shared with you. Right now we're at blended. I am hoping by the fall we will have less cases, and we will be able to have more, not just vaccines, but more people vaccinated. And once that happens, the cases really go down, and we can have less of those stringent kind of safety protocols in place. But it's going to take a while. But definitely virtual is not a guarantee for 2021 yet. Things change daily. Kids can bring lunch to school. I would say probably it's about a 60-40 split. 60% of our kids bring lunch from home. We always have some kids, about 40%, that order hot lunch. And that starts a little later in the year. We have not started that this year just because of the circumstances. But we have a lot of kids that bring their lunch, and adults. I actually like to bring my lunch from home. Can I tell you how you handle kids who are ahead of the rest of the class? And the same question for kids who are behind. Examples would be great. Absolutely. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the presentation about how we meet kids where they are and take them from that point and move them forward, regardless of where they are when they come to us. A great example is kindergarten. We have kindergartners that come in and they're learning their letters and sounds. And then we also have kindergartners that are coming in and that are reading small chapter books already. And so the program I mentioned earlier, the Readers and Writers, the Teaching College, that is our foundation for our literacy program, is a wonderful example of how we can really differentiate our curriculum, because it's about teaching the skill and then changing the kind of tool that students are using. So we might be teaching a strategy that can be extended across differentiated leveled text. For example, a child that might be reading a pattern book will use the same skill, and that a child might be that's reading another higher level text or complicated or complex text. And so our teachers change the material. So we have tons of different books, and kids actually go book shopping in the classroom, and they pick out different books based on the level that they are working at. Is a great example of how we can differentiate for kids who come in at different levels. And we always have that variance. We always have kids coming in that might be working at a more advanced level, and children that need more support. And when children are practicing their reading and building their reading stamina, that's the time when our teachers sit down with other children and are working with children in small group or individually. We call that conferring. And we're taking notes on what the child is doing and what the child's next steps are. And we are coaching them through their learning. We do this in reading, we do this in writing, and we do this in math as well. And we can extend concepts for children in math. We can extend concepts for children in writing. And we can also build and support things for math with manipulatives, and really building the concept in a concrete fashion, as well as breaking down the steps of writing for children, and so helping them grow in that area. And so we really look at where the kids are and meet them where they are, and then take them to the next level. That's a great question. I love sharing that information. How about any other questions? Let me see if any other questions came up in the Q&A. One more. Could I give an example? I just kind of gave an example of how we individualize within the classroom for math and literacy. And so the Readers and Writers Workshop program and our math, it's really a math workshop program. It's really built on this premise of teaching a small lesson. And this is done across all grades, teaching a small lesson. We call it a mini lesson, to teach a concept, a skill or a strategy for children to practice. The teacher shows the skill or strategy in real text or real formats and ways for kids to see how it's being used in real life in a real book. And then the teacher might model how they would use that strategy, and the children practice together. And then the children go and practice independently or with a buddy. And that while that is happening, the teachers conferring and working in small groups. So that is how they're able to individualize instruction for children and to find the time to be able to really meet children where they are. What kind of technology platforms do we use for teaching? So we use a variety of different things. Like in our kindergarten, Seesaw is a great way to demonstrate learning and understanding, especially in our times that we are in right now, where there's some virtual learning and where children are working at home independently and they can share pictures and snapshots and load them up onto our Seesaw platform. We also use that when we're not in a pandemic. We use that in the classroom all the time in person. Children are able to record their ideas and thoughts and explain their learning and thinking. And the teacher has that captured, and that observational piece of data is so critical for a teacher in assessing where a child is performing. It's not just about answering test questions. It's really about that observational formative piece. And then we use Google, a Google Suite platform for our entire district. And I know I'm on Zoom tonight. It works a little bit better in this format because you have to be part of our domain in our Google Suite. So it's closed domain. It's just for teachers and students and not for people from the outside. But we have Google Docs, we have Google Sheets, we have Google Forms, we have Google Meet, and all of those are used with our students in our learning. And we have several different kind of software programs like BrainPop and Newsy LA and other things that we bring in to supplement our core curriculum. But our core curriculum is based on Readers and Writers Workshop, and we use the technology as a tool. And that is our hope, that we are not using technology to supplement the content in that way, but we're using it as a tool to help children either express their learning and understanding, or using a tool to share information in collaboration with students. Not all the school districts can do blended learning right now, including Palo Alto and Cupertino school districts. I wonder why LISD is doing it, and it's amazing. Great question. So we have been planning this blended learning process and program since the end of last year, and really training our teachers. We did actually some training at the end of the year and took a few days at the end of the year and did an intensive training with teachers on how to use this process of teaching to add on to their incredible repertoire of skills and experiences as teachers. And then over the summer, we had different teachers, different curriculum people at the district level really work on units of study in all of these different areas. And we created something called a learning plan. And these learning plans guide students' learning, whether they're in person or at home. And it helps so much because then if we do have to go into quarantine, or if a child has to quarantine, if they have a symptom and they can't come to school, they still have the same curriculum guide that they would be using in the classroom. And our time in classroom that's happening is our time that we are working with, individually with kids and reinforcing concepts. Every day, whether a child is in person or at home, the teacher is connecting with them every day. And I really have been very pleased with seeing how organized things are. Not to say that there aren't hiccups and bumps, just like I started off my event tonight with lots of hiccups and bumps. It happens. But I really applying for that waiver for us to be able to start in person, because we had the organizational and the foresight to know that this could be happening, and really put our efforts and energy into planning ahead of time, made it possible for us to be doing blended learning and being open at this point. Okay, I'm going to see if there are any other questions in the chat. Oh, this is the, okay. All right. Will COVID vaccination proof be required for attendance in the 21-22 school year? I have no idea. You will find with me, I don't have all the answers, and I know I don't have the answers, especially in times like this. And that's something that hasn't been determined at this point. And we understand that every family is dealing with their own health needs and feelings around how comfortable they are learning in person, and how it works for their family. And so we have families that have gone to the virtual classroom and really want to come back in March, when this period has kind of gone down and has been a little less risk. I can tell you at this point in our district, we've been open since October 12th. We have had, and this is public information, so you can look at this on our district website, but we've had 3 cases of students or staff members that have had COVID. We followed the protocol of having that cohort go into quarantine, and the teacher taught from home and continued on with the lessons that were needed. We brought in a sub for the other cohort, and this happened at some other schools in the district, and it didn't spread. And that's exactly why we have these protocols in place. So I'm really pleased to hear that, you know, there's evidence that they can, we can make sure that things don't spread. We can't make sure that everyone is COVID free. There's too many variables around us. But what I was very pleased to hear was that our governor is prioritizing schools over other high risk activities that have a tendency to spread, where, you know, in other places around the world, they've been keeping schools open and successfully. And when they needed to, they would close and then they would come back. They would quarantine and they would come back. But I really am pleased with the protocols we have in place. I feel safe at school. I am vigilant. If you talk to any parent, I am vigilant about people filling out their symptom tracker and being, you know, being honest about filling out their symptom tracker and following the guidelines. We don't mask shame. We say, oops, you need to fix your mask to our kids, and we don't make them feel bad if it's down. But it's following all those protocols, the hand washing, 20 seconds, all those protocols help us keep our campus safe. So I think that is all of the questions that we have this evening. Oh, one more. I see one more over here. Hold on. Yes, if you missed part of the recording, not a problem. You can watch. I will send the link out to this recording as well as the slide presentation. The requirements, we follow the, we have a very high level hiring process. We actually we all hire as principals together. And so we don't hire just for our schools. We hire teachers across the district for everyone. And so we work with our HR department, but we're all looking for things in our teachers that are at a very high level. Credentials, of course, are required, and all of our teachers have credentials through our state or through the process of another state, and are transferring those over. We have a varied experience from first-year teachers to teachers who have been teaching for 30 plus years at our site. So a wide range. Our teachers who are just starting out, they have a mentor, an instructional mentor that works with them weekly and meets with them weekly, but works with them throughout the week. I also work closely with those teachers who are new to the site and to teaching. We don't at this time. This year we haven't offered Mandarin. Last year we had Mandarin immersion about a half an hour a week into our into our kindergarten classroom with things being the way they are this year. We do not. We want to limit the contact of people and cohorts. We have had after school classes though, everything from Spanish to Hindi to Chinese and French at our school. So lots of different after school classes that include language. So with that, I am going to let our participants, our panel go. We greatly appreciate your time. Since you were able to register, I will again send this presentation and video to you. We're so happy that you could join us tonight in these very unprecedented times, and it truly is. But we are going to get through it together as a community. I look forward to meeting you. And if you have any questions that I can help you with, feel free to email me. My email is kattell@lasdschools.org. And you will receive that email when I send you this information. Have a good evening and thank you. Thank you, lovely panel.
Thanks, Kimberly.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.